Well, hello there. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Maureen Pisani with Pro Thrive Science-Based Hypnotherapy, and today we're going to talk about exposing all the misconceptions, exposing and uncovering all these sugar coatings that people do to give you a diluted version of what reality truly is. Yes, I'm going to just pull the curtain. So, here I talk about hypnotherapy because that's what it is. Undiluted, unadulterated, uncensored hypnotherapy. We access your unconscious mind, get you to be in a state where you get to be receptive to new ideas, upgrade your unconscious programming, get you to have the congruence between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Once they're both in alignment, you actually get to succeed. But what exactly is hypnosis? Let's uncover it. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been driving where you park your car and you arrive at the location? Sometimes it's just home, but you park your car and you go, how did I get here this fast? Have you ever thought about that? Because I know it's happened to most of us. So think about it for a second. If you were asleep, you couldn't drive, but if you're totally wide awake, you'd remember the route, right? But you didn't, so you were somewhere in between. That in between is a hypnotic state. Do you like movies? Do you get into the movies? Do you jump when they scare you? Or do you cry when the romantic part just breaks your heart? Well, you know they're actors and it's all script. It's all fake. But you get into the movie. You know why? Because movies are hypnotic. The whole point of getting into the movie is allowing your critical faculty to go into abeyance, suspension of critical thinking, and you get into the story. Here's how I explain how I hypnotize people from a scientific perspective. So you guys know that we have the right brain and the left brain, and right here, up above our eyebrows, is what's called the prefrontal cortices. The prefrontal cortices are the adult brain. They're what we have as brakes. So when somebody cuts us off while we're driving, our mind gives us a nice choice of colorful words. But as those words are flowing through the brain to be pronounced, we remember we have little kids in the back seat, so we put on the prefrontal cortices, come in and put the brakes, come in and put the censorship on, so we come up with colorful, polite words. One of my dad's favorite phrases when we were kids was bloom and basket. So you do the translation of what he really did mean. But that's what his prefrontal cortices did. From the crude English where he wanted to just give it all, he toned it down to bloom and basket. And it took us years to understand what he meant, but there you go, right? Prefrontal cortices in full function. So for me to put somebody in hypnosis, it's all done with words, but I will word a process through where your prefrontal cortices are like, oh my God, and they just go into abeyance. With the second process, I will again with words, get your left brain, which is the logical linear thinker, to be so amazingly bored that it too goes into abeyance. Now the second the left brain goes into hypoactivity, that's when the right brain automatically shifts into hyperactivity. And the second your right brain, your creative brain, your imaginative brain, the brain that runs on emotions, goes into hyperactivity, you are in a hypnotic state. Now, from people who need to know from a different perspective, because again, remember I told you once, it's not because Maureen said so, it's because science says so. We have brain waves. We have alpha, beta, theta, delta. We have the alpha brain waves. Oops, there we go. See, I get into it. The alpha brain waves. And when it comes into the alpha brain waves, think of it. The football coach with the team before the game. And the alpha brain waves are hard. They're forceful. They're aggressive. They're go and let's crush them, right? Beta brain waves are a good day, happy, easygoing, all green lights, meetings starting and ending on time, checks being deposited, money in your bank, sweet day, happy day. Theta brain waves are what we jokingly call massage brain. Do you remember when you finish a massage and the therapist talks to you and they actually expect you to be able to conjugate a sentence? You know that? That's theta. Delta brainwaves are when you're asleep, out cold, snoring at night. So hypnosis is done in the theta brainwaves. So you're not asleep, you're relaxed. Your mind, for some, is incredibly focused, for some is incredibly distracted. The physical body relaxes a lot. And you find, I wonder what that was. There are some people who feel like their body is so light it's floating. There are some people who feel like their body is so heavy it's made of lead. I've actually had people describe it like that. There are some, a very small percentage, 5% of the population are what we call somnambulists. So they drop deep. There's 139 levels of hypnosis. So the somnambulists dive in. There are some who like the shallow end. There are some who just put their baby toe in. Either way, all of them are in hypnosis. Now, why is this important? Because when people tell you it's guided visualization, guess what? It's hypnosis. When people tell you it's visualizations, it's hypnosis. When people tell you, oh no, I just do therapeutic guided imagery, it's hypnosis. So why is this important? Because I want you to know what you're doing. I want you to know what you're signing up for, what you're paying for, what type of experience you're receiving. Hypnosis is an incredibly natural state of being. As we're falling asleep, think about last night. There was a moment where you could barely keep your eyes open. You know that feeling when you're like, ugh. That's what scientifically called a hypnagogic state. As you're waking up in the morning, before you even open your eyes, and you get that little dreamy drowsy, like you can almost fall back asleep, again, hypnotic state. We go into hypnosis 1,000 times a day. If you're talking to kids, you're giving a presentation and you see the glazed over look. Hypnosis. Come from a space where people tell you, oh, I was in the zone. I was exercising and I was running and it felt so good. I was in the zone. Hypnosis. It's everywhere. But because there are myths and misconceptions that they don't understand what it is, the first thing we do when we don't understand something is we fear it, and to be not seen as a coward, we make sure everybody else fears it with us so we're all together. In hypnosis, to be honest, hypnosis is one of the best tools under the sun. And when it comes to how you deal with this, utilize it. I've shocked people because I meet all kinds of people, and the second I say proudly that I am a hypnotherapist, I've had all kinds of responses. In fact, some of the responses are too rude to share here, but I'll share one of them. I shook this person's hand in a networking event, shook their hand, said I'm a hypnotherapist, and they literally, without blinking an eye, said, so you deal with evil spirits? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So without blinking an eye from my end, I respond, so how many people have you murdered? And you see the shock, right? You see the eyes widening, you see the jaw dropping, and they're like, oh, what are you talking about? And I said, well, you have knives in your kitchen, don't you? And they go, yeah, of course. So how many people have you murdered? I haven't murdered anybody. Well, that's the same thing, right? It's the intention of how you use the tool. Of course, I know they haven't murdered anybody, but I want them to feel the shock, because then they get to learn how not to judge others because they don't understand. So you have a knife in your kitchen, you haven't murdered anyone, because your intention for the knife is to use it for cooking. I am the same way. I have a tool that at least with me, for the right intentions, I always use it to serve and help people improve. So when it comes to hypnosis, you have questions, email me, text me, message me, prothrive.sb, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, prothrivesph.com. Find me, I'm here, I am able to answer any and all of your questions, because I help the person so the professional can succeed. See you later, bye-bye.